Hey everyone, welcome to the Time to Grow Up podcast. I'm your host Jaslyn, and today we're going to be talking about what life is like post-grad. So, if you're new to the podcast, my name is Jaslyn. I graduated college in May 2023, so I've been out of college for about a year now, and I've realized that there's a lot of things that I did not know was going to happen, or a lot of emotions that I did not know that were going to come up when I walked across that stage in 2023, and I thought I would share those revelations with you all today, because I feel like not a lot of people talk about what it is really like after you graduate college. They only talk about like the highlights of, getting their first job and making a lot of money and, moving out or moving to another city, where that is not the reality for a lot of people, including myself. I thought I would give you my little story about what it was like when I graduated college, and then some things that I feel like a lot of people go through once they graduate as well, because to be quite honest, everyone's journey after college is different, and you might think you're the only person going through these things, but I promise you, you're not. A lot of people around you probably have as well. They just don't really like to open up and talk about it, which is why I'm here, because I'm going to be talking about those things on this podcast. So, in today's podcast, I'm going to be covering a lot of things related to work, friendship, money, experiences overall, and even health things that you might not think about once you graduate. First things first, let me tell you my story. So I graduated, like I said, last May. I got my degree in mass communications, and I started a job literally before I even walked across the stage. I was offered my job to start on May 2nd, and I graduated on May 6th of 2023. So I never really had a buffer between graduation and quote-unquote real life, because I wanted to start working early. A lot of people asked me, including like when I accepted the offer, I could have either started on the 2nd or the 17th. Now, my background, I wanted to make money, as much money as I could, because I luckily don't have any student debt, but I also have other goals that I want to save for, and realistically, I did not want to wait to start my job. Now, in hindsight, did I wish I waited? Probably, because I would have had like 2 weeks to just chill and move out, because I was living in apartments at the time, and it's very hectic trying to move out all your stuff from a college dorm or a college apartment when you have to move 30 minutes away to back home. A lot of people, including like my manager at my internship, asked me like, are you sure you want to start this early? Like, this is the only time you're going to get a break before like working full time for literally the rest of your life until I, get a new job or I try to do something on my own. This is going to be the last time I'm going to have a break. And I naively said, oh, it's fine. I just want to start work now. Like, I just want to get started. Kind of wish I would have waited, because like real life got real as soon as I started my first day at my job. I was like, whoa, this is not what I expected life to be like. Once I walked across the stage, I thought it was going to be like butterfly and rainbows, and like, now I'm like sad. Like, what's the problem? Like, what's going on? So, that was kind of my experience when I graduated college. So the first thing I want to talk about is, you might think that your life is over once you graduate college. I kind of had this, I wouldn't call it a midlife crisis, because I'm not even 25, or quarter life crisis or whatever. It was kind of this like realization of, this is what my life is going to be like for the rest of my life. I don't know if I can do this. It was like the second week I came home from work, and I was talking to my mom, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this for the rest of my life. It's like coming to the realization that you're going to have to work every single day, Monday through Friday. I work like 7 to 4 most days. And realizing that you're going to have to do that for your rest of your life is very, very overwhelming, because I had a lot more free time when I was in college. Like, literally in my last semester, I had 2 or 3 classes, working an internship 2 or 3 days out of the week, and then I had whatever else time I wanted to do. I could do whatever. Now that I don't get home until 4, I have other responsibilities. I can only do stuff realistically on the weekends or after I get off work. It was just very like daunting to think, oh, I don't have time to do everything I want. What do you mean? So that is something that I had to kind of come to terms with. But you might think that your life is completely over, and that you don't have any, and you don't think you're gonna, have any big goals to do, because I feel like when you're growing up, it's like the big goals you have is, graduating high school, graduating college, and then it's like getting married and having kids, and then death. Like, that's it. There's no any other big milestones that you're looking at in like society terms, but you can always make little goals that you want to strive for. Like, it could be starting a new creative project, making a goal of meeting new friends, making a goal of reading more books. Like, you just have to make these little goals in your life are going to fulfill you in the long run while you work this 9-to-5 job or whatever you're trying to do after you graduate college, which is something that I had to figure out early on, because I was like, what So when I did that, that's when I actually started my book club. I mentioned this in another podcast that I started a book club when I first started my job, because I just felt like I had so much free time, and I just felt like I was wasting my time not connecting with people in my community or not just doing something enjoyable. I mentioned in my last podcast as well, is that I'm always trying to earn more money and trying to find new ways to make money, when in reality I can slow down. You can slow down after graduation. You can just take your time to figure out what you want to do. And I feel like that's healthy, honestly, to just figure out what you really want to do and not rush into anything like I did when I started my full-time job. Another thing, I realized that everything is expensive. Oh my gosh, I had to pay for so much stuff when I first graduated because I had to move back here. Luckily, I didn't have to buy a U-Haul or anything to move back home, but just everything is so expensive. I got my own insurance, so I had to start paying my own co-pays. I had to start paying for the dentist, and I had some work to get done at the dentist, so that was a lot of money. Medical bills, I had to get checkups and stuff because I really didn't go to the doctor consistently while I was in college, so that was expensive. Groceries, oh my gosh, groceries are so expensive because I obviously live at home with my mom, so I buy my own groceries, but it's I did not realize how expensive these things were. It felt cheaper in college for some reason. It just felt way cheaper. Maybe because I ate out a lot more, and now I'm eating at home, so it's kind of different, I guess. I don't really know. And then something you might suffer with is post-grad depression or post-grad blues. I don't know if I suffered from this as much as I've seen other people suffer from it. I think that's just because in school I wasn't really a big partier. I wasn't in a sorority. I wasn't any drinking a lot or doing that type of stuff. I really just went to school, did my little social media thing, hung out with my roommates and my best friend, and that was literally it. And I still talk to those people till this day, so it's not like I lost this big part of myself once I graduated college. It's just transitioning into another chapter in my life. I would say if you are experiencing that, just know that other people around you probably are as well, and it might be better to just talk to them and be like, hey, this is what I'm experiencing. Are you going through this? Can we talk about it? Because I just feel like not a lot of people open up about these things, when in reality we should. So now let's get into the nitty gritty of what I want to talk about in this episode. First thing being work. I feel like when you start your 9 to 5, that is the biggest transition that you're going to go through after graduating college, because you go from having 2 or 3 classes a day, maybe you have an internship or a part-time job, and then you get to go home and do whatever you want. And your days are so different from each other when you're in college, whereas work, it's the same thing every day, 5 days a week. And that is something that I really had to come to terms with, because I'm the type of person who really likes having different things in my schedule. I like doing different things, trying different things. And when you have a 9 to 5 job, you're really just doing the same thing every single day until you get a new job. Honestly, what else is there to do, And that to be said, your first job probably won't be your dream job. I know that the job I have right now is not the job that I thought I would want when I graduated college. It's not my, fun job I've ever had. It's not the job that I want to do for the next 40, 50 years. So, and I feel like a lot of people have big dreams after college, which you should, but it's also I kind of had to be realistic with, I wasn't about to move to a new city or a new state. I have connections here where I live, and it was easier to get a job that way than to try to go to New York City or Los Angeles or something and have to pay all this money and go into all this debt and all this just to get a job, where it was very easy for me to just get a job around my city and kind of push through and just figure out what I wanted to do after I worked here for a year or two. The first job is probably not going to be your dream job, and that is okay. I feel like it's kind of better to not have your dream job after college, because once you get that quote-unquote dream job, what are you going to do next? That's what I'm always thinking about. If you reach all your goals at this one moment in life, what else do you have to strive for? Unless you're creating bigger and better goals for yourself every time you hit a really, really major milestone, it's going to be hard to top that. It's going to be hard to top your dream job at 22. You still have so much more life experience to do all these fun things that you don't even know yet, because you're dwelling on, oh, wait, my first job after school is not my dream job. What am I supposed to do? No, I don't think a lot of people have their dream job after college, and that's okay. Another thing about work is that work relationships are really, really weird. It's really, really weird to have to be not cordial, but nice to people that you don't, I'm not going to say you don't care about, but nice to people that you work with, but obviously you're not going to have a relationship with them outside of work. That is something I kind of made a rule for myself once I graduated and once I started working, is I don't want to have weird relationship with my coworkers. I don't want I just wanted to set boundaries. That was my thing. I wanted to set boundaries with my coworkers, and I didn't want them to think they had a lot of access to me when they don't need to. I feel like Gen Z is a generation of we go to work, we go home, that's it. I don't need to be buddy-buddy with my manager. I don't need to be buddy-buddy with my coworkers. I don't need to group chat with y'all outside of work. We don't have to meet up for drinks after work. I'm here to do my job and go home. And that's kind of the mentality I've had since I started my job, because I don't have time for drama. I don't have time to deal with people who are older than me, having gossip and having sidebar conversations about, oh, did you hear what so-and-so did? I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. I don't make as much money as you, so why am I worried about these problems that don't pertain to me? So, because I have some of my friends go through those things at their jobs now, is that they have their boundaries crossed because you're so young and they think that you don't know anything and that you will just take whatever. But you have to be like, no, this is my boundary. I'm sticking to it. This is what I'm expecting, and go that way. It's easier to start at a job or in a relationship being really, really strict and then leaning off than being very, very lenient and then trying to be strict. So if there's one thing that I say to do when you first start your job is to set boundaries that you can stick to and don't sway off of them, because that is when people are going to start walking all over you, especially because we're young and we're new grads and people think we don't know what we're doing, when in reality we do, because we've had so much experience in the world already. Even if it isn't quote unquote real world experience, it is still experience that you can use once you start that full-time job after college. Another thing I recommend is to learn as much as you can, especially in your first job after college. Even if you've had internships, I would say use that experience at your new job, because this job is all about building stepping stones and building up your resume in the long run to find a better job. Like I said, I don't think your first job is going to be the best job ever. It's not going to be your most favorite job, full-time job after school. Being a sponge and soaking up as much information, as much knowledge as you can about this role and about the industry that you're going into is so important, which is what I have started to do in my job personally. I've taken a lot of courses. I've tried to teach myself new things. I've tried to take initiative on projects that I think are actually valuable to me and that I think will help me in the long run, and I just jump on it. I don't really wait for people to tell me what to do or ask me to do something. If I see something that needs to get done, I'll do it. But I'm also not going to let that make people walk all over me and try to make me do stuff that I don't think is in my job duty. So that is another tip as well. And another thing is you can always get a new job. This first job is not end all be all. This is not the only job you're going to have. I feel like a lot of people get that first job and they think that this is the worst thing ever, that they're never going to be able to leave, that they're never going to be able to find a better job than this. And if your job is that bad, you can find something else. You can find another job. All you have to do is fill out that resume, apply for some jobs, and it'll be okay. Because I've had that dilemma too when I've had bad days at work and I'm like, oh my gosh, is this what my rest of my life is going to be like? I don't know if I can do this. But it's like, if you really want a new job and you don't like it that much, you can easily update your resume and start applying and get a new job in no time if you really, really stay focused and figure out, what you want to do after that. Next thing I put on here is moving. So I moved back home after I graduated college because realistically I did not want to $1,500, $2,000 a month for an apartment downtown. So I moved back home, and I feel like moving back home and with your parents, especially when you've had a little bit of life experience, is going to be hard. I am grateful enough that my mom and I's relationship is pretty chill. Like, we just do whatever we want, and we don't really have any major problems that make it hard for us to live together. I have my own little space, but it is really difficult going from living with your best friends to not living next to them. Like, one of my friends lives an hour and a half away. Another one of my friends lives about 45 minutes away. So it is hard to get on everybody's schedule to figure out a time to hang out. And it is kind of sad to think about, like, all the times that we were able to just drive over to each other's apartments or literally just knock on each other's door when we wanted to hang out. But now we have to actually schedule time to meet up and get food or something after work or on the weekends when a lot of people have lives and we're trying to do stuff. So it is hard to balance everyone's calendar and figure out, like, when people have time for stuff. Another thing that's kind of hard is not being around people your age. Even in the workplace, there's only like one person that's near my age that I work with, and we aren't on the same department. So it is hard to try to find people in the same situation as you, or area of life that you're in to relate to when a lot of the people you work with are older. So I think that is important to find people in your age group that you can talk to about just life in general. Honestly, that's why I started this podcast, because I only have 2 or 3 close friends that I can talk to about stuff going on in my life, but I also don't want to burden them with things that I talk about, because it's like sometimes they can't relate either. So if I can find at least one person to watch these videos and comment and relate, that's all that matters to me. Another thing, let's talk about, while we're on the topic of friendship, let's talk about friendship. Friendships after college are really, really hard to manage. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You might lose some friends after you graduate college. You might have already lost some friends while you're in college. I know I did. I lost like 2 kind of close friends that didn't even really need to be part of my life anyway. So it was, necessary evil that they left anyway. But it's also like when you're trying to manage these relationships, especially after you graduate school, on top of having a 9-to-5 job, on top of trying to do other things outside of work, it is hard, don't get me wrong. And you may not even have a lot of friends when you graduate college. I know I only have 2 or 3 people that I talk to after college, and it is hard to see people like on Facebook or Instagram or whatever hanging out still, and they've been friends for 4 years since graduating college, and you're like, dang, I don't talk to anybody that I graduated college with, That is when I will tell you that it is a great idea to start trying to make friends, especially in your 20s, because a lot of people, once they hit their 30s, I feel like people stop trying to make friends for some reason. A lot of them are married, or they have jobs, or they have other responsibilities and they don't have the time to make friends. So I think definitely in your 20s, it is a great time. Just meet people your own age. That is why I started my book club. Even though the people that go to my book club now are a lot older than me. They're like in their 40s or 50s. There is one girl who is around the same age as me. But I've also tried to meet some people, at work. I've joined Bumble BFF, which has been a pretty good experience. I've met one girl on there that I still hang out with regularly. But honestly, the closest friend that I've met that I didn't know in college already was I joined a Facebook group for like people trying to meet people in my city. And the friend that I made now, her mom commented on my post and was like, oh my gosh, my daughter works at the same job as you. Y'all should hang out. And I texted her mom and I was like, okay, I'm interested. Like, I'd love to meet her. And literally when I texted her, I saw the girl come out of she was coming out of the office building. And I was like, I think your mom just texted me. And I was like, and she's like, oh yeah, she did. So we've been hanging out ever since, and she's a really, really cool person. And I would have never met her if I wouldn't have put myself out there and was like, hey, I'm trying to make friends. Okay. I've always, I don't know. I think because I'm an only child, it is a little bit harder for me to make friends because I do enjoy my alone time. But when I get in those moods of like, dang, I feel like I don't have anybody to hang out with, I'm glad that I have people in my life that I can hang out with and have a good time with, So that could be a priority for you if you're in that area where you're like, I don't have anybody to hang out with. This is the time to try to make friends. Like I said, Bumble BFF I feel like is a good way, but you have to really make effort on those things. If there's a Facebook group in your city of people trying to meet up, or if there's some classes around you that you're interested in, like I feel like your best friends come in the most random situations. Like I met one of my close friends on a Facebook group where her mom commented on my post. My college best friend, we met because we were on the same dorm floor. It was like the people that are supposed to be in your life, I feel like you'll meet the most randomest ways. So it's always, good to try to just meet new people, especially once you graduate college. Because it does get harder to meet people after college, because in school you're already surrounded by people the same age as you. But once you leave, it's like you have to make effort to meet people who are in the same situation with you or the same age as you that you want to get to know and become friends with. Next thing, let's talk about money. So money was a big thing that I worried about once I graduated college, because I was grateful I didn't have any debt, but it's also like I wanted to make sure that I'm not going into debt once I graduate, because I got my first credit card like sophomore year of college, and I was kind of scared to use it. I was like, I don't know, I need to be using a credit card. Like, I'm kind of scared to go into debt. I don't want to go into credit card debt. That terrifies me. But it's also like once you hit your 20s, it's like you want to make your money work for you. So I decided to open a Roth IRA, which I always think is a great idea for anybody to do. And I started to actually use my credit card. So I used my credit card for just gas and stuff. And I also have a travel credit card that I use for obviously traveling for work and stuff. And I think your 20s is a great time to really get a hold on your financial situation, especially if you have debt. Or is this a great time to start realistically budgeting for things you want to do in the upcoming years? Like I created a budget for my boyfriend and I because we are looking at the next couple years of our life and seeing like what we want to do. And also just for me personally, like I am a really techie person. I like to buy, new tech items, and it can be hard to figure out like where should my money be going and what should I be doing with my money, because since I live at home, I don't have a lot of extra bills or anything right now, and I'm grateful for that. But it's also like I don't want to spend my money on random crap that I don't need for the next however many years I'm here and not have any money to show for it. So that is just something you might want to think about once you graduate, and if you have student debt, obviously pay on your student debt. I'm grateful I don't have any, but it's also like you just want to be realistic with your finances. You don't want to be going willy-nilly because you're like, oh, I graduated, I have a decent job, I can spend it on whatever I want. Realistically, don't think that's the best idea. So that's what I recommend if you are trying to figure out what to do with your money. I would definitely do a video an episode on managing your money in your 20s, because I do have a lot of advice on that. I just don't want to put all that in one section of an episode. So yeah, the last thing I have on my list is, actually I have two more things. Experiences. So especially once you graduate college, it may feel like you don't have a lot of time to do other things you want to do. Like I was saying, once you graduate, it may feel like you don't have a lot of times for extracurricular things or things to do outside of work, but honestly, you just have to make time for it. I already made a video an episode about this, about hobbies that you may want to try or why hobbies are important outside of work, because the first couple months, honestly, all I did was go to work and come home and watch YouTube for 4 hours. It's important to make time for things that you want to do. So, like for me, instance, I really like my book club, so I started a book club. I started to do painting classes. I went to some ceramic classes, and it's just great to have experiences outside of work, because this is just a really, really free time in your life. Like all my responsibilities right now is to literally go to work, come home, do whatever I want. So I tried to find stuff that I like to do. I like to go book shopping. I like to, go on walks. I like to go to the gym, things like that. So you want to make sure that you're having some enjoyment outside of work, because you don't want to make your work your job, because that is just, in my opinion, I don't think it's a really, really fun experience to do. If you need help trying to figure out what you want to do, just think about things that you like to do as a child. Like, I liked to make videos as a child. I don't really remember. I know I liked to make videos as a child, so I started to do that. That's why I have this podcast. And just do that. Honestly, you never know what you're gonna like until you try, and it's okay if you try like a million different things and you quit them. I'm notorious for trying things for like a week or two and then quitting them, but honestly, that's life. I would have never figured out what I liked if I would have just quit one thing and never tried again. So try as many things as you like, see what fits, and just keep doing it because it's fun. And then the last thing I have is health. Now, I feel like once you hit your 20s, a lot of people start caring about what their health looks like. Personally, I'm on a weight loss journey because I realized that I kind of let myself go in college, and I want to get back to before that. So health is really, really important, but also that comes with insurance. A lot of times when you start a job, if you're not still on your parents' insurance, you have to start paying for co-pays. And if you're like me, you have to get dental work, which is very expensive because dental work is literally nothing in the United States. And you just want to make sure you're taking care of yourself. And I think a lot of people think about the fun times of being in your 20s, but you also want to take care of yourself too. Like, you want to just make sure you're doing the best you can for your future and your current self when it comes to your health. Obviously working out regularly, drinking your water, eating, things like that. You just want to make sure you're taking care of yourself. And I also have on here, the earlier you start, the better. So if you start taking care of your health now, it'll be way better when you're in your 30s or 40s. Whereas if you've just did whatever you wanted, ate whatever you want, drank whatever you want, and then you hit your 30s and you're like, dang, I really let myself go. So that is something that I am focusing on in my 20s as well, is to just really focus on my health, getting myself together so I don't have to worry about this when I'm older. And with that is the last point I have. Like, your 20s are very, very crazy, I think, but it's also really, really fun to just define this next decade in your life of like what you really want your life to look like in the future. And that is honestly what this episode is about, is just figuring out what you want to do with your life, especially post-college. It can be overwhelming, it can be hard to navigate, but that's what I'm here for, so we can do this together. And yeah, that is all for episode 3 of... No, this is episode 2, actually. This is episode 2 of Time to Grow Up. And I hope you guys enjoy. I will leave a Q&A and leave in the comments below what your situation was like after you graduate college. If you have any tips, leave them down below. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.